Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video we're going to be discussing K-1 visas specifically in the context of cases that will be processed presumably through the U.S. Consulate in Ho Chi Minh City primarily. As can be heard from the preamble to this video, I'm an American attorney, but we're located here in Bangkok. Primarily, the vast majority of our cases do involve Thai nationals, although we do deal with cases regionally. And I sort of thought about it the other day, and I said, you know, I really don't do enough videos talking about some of the other posts and other nationalities we deal with in an immigration context within the immigration practice here. So I went ahead and decided to do this video. The way to look at the K-1 process specifically, and the K-1 fiance process is slightly different than dealing with other family-based petitions. First of all, you have to be intending to marry an American citizen, unlike marriage visas where you can be married to a lawful permanent resident and process a case that way through one of the preference categories. K-1 visas are only between a foreign national and an American citizen. Both parties have to be legally free to marry. That's rather important. This can come up and cause some confusion, cause some problems in a lot of cases, because folks think, oh, we filed and now we can get married. No, you have to remain fiancés throughout the whole process. You have to be legally free to marry up until the fiancé, the Vietnamese fiancé, comes to the United States, at which point it is then possible to go ahead and get married in the United States and file for adjustment of status to lawful permanent residence. In another video on this channel, I discuss specifically adjustment of status. Adjustment of status is a process by which an individual comes to the United States, in this case in K-1 status, gets married, and then goes ahead and processes to get their lawful permanent residence attached, aka green card status. Another thing to keep in mind with respect to the K-1 specifically, the couple in question needs to have met physically in person within 2 years of the filing of the petition for the visa benefits. So this is not, and there are exceptions to this rule, but they are very, very narrow in scope, and for that reason it's best to effectively just go ahead and say, look, I have to meet in person. That usually means you're going to have to at least travel once to, in the case of a Vietnamese fiance, presumably Vietnam, and meet physically in person the Vietnamese fiance before a filing can be perfected, or at least before an acceptable filing could be perfected. Some things to think about as far as how it works. Well, the case starts off over at Department of Homeland Security, specifically USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. They go ahead and process the petition. If the petition is approved, the case will move to the National Visa Center, which is under the auspices of the Department of State. The National Visa Center, they act as a sort of clearinghouse or sort of administrative hub for sending these cases out, making sure it gets from the approval at DHS, it goes ahead and gets to the appropriate embassy or consulate. In the vast majority of cases involving Vietnam, you're not going to be dealing with the post in Hanoi. In the vast majority of cases, at least we deal with, you're dealing with the U.S. Consulate in Ho Chi Minh City. And it is a higher volume post, so processing can take a little bit longer in Vietnam. As far as consular processing goes, it can take a little bit longer when compared to other posts in the region, Bangkok included, but Bangkok's a pretty high volume post as well. Some of the other smaller posts, Cambodia, Laos, definitely, even Yangon, don't quite have the volume, so things may move a little bit more quickly. But that being said, it's just the process you have to deal with, and every case is sort of unique, and you have to deal with the circumstances as you take them. So that being said, it'll go to the consulate in Ho Chi Minh City, and at that point, the case, the Vietnamese fiance will be informed of the protocols that he or she needs to undertake to go ahead and complete the consular processing portion. In the cases where we've been retained to assist in these matters, we often assist with translations, compilation of documentation, filling out of various forms, both online and physical forms, and in a lot of cases going ahead and submitting the request for the actual visa application interview. And then on top of that, we go ahead and assist in preparing by providing certain questions, or I really hate to say we provide like the questions that they're going to ask. We don't. we provide an overview with respect to how, what is the process looking for? What kind of due diligence is the consular officer likely to be interested in conducting? In most cases, it's ascertaining that the couple is a genuine couple. They are legally free to marry. They've remained legally free to marry. They adhere to the law. They adhere to immigration policy. They don't have any legal grounds of inadmissibility, and all the documentation relevant to the case that that officer feels is pertinent is present and accounted for with respect to the underlying application. That's basically what they're looking to do. It's not an exercise in stump the applicant. It's an exercise in due diligence. You know, they want to make certain that the couple is bona fide. So for that reason, that's sort of a general overview of what the interview process is like. If the officer requests further documentation, they can issue what's called a 221G request for further documentation. In some cases, they may feel that the case is denied for various reasons. They have to give a legal reason why they're denying the case. In most cases I've dealt with where you get a denial, you're looking at a legal ground of inadmissibility, and a legal ground of inadmissibility is defined in the Immigration and Nationality Act. And in some cases, it's often possible to overcome that legal ground of inadmissibility through use of what's called an I-601 waiver. There are various videos on this channel with respect to the I-601 specifically, but to sort of just sum up K-1 visa processing through Vietnam, you're looking at a matter of months. I think you're looking at probably 8 or 9 months with respect to the overall door-to-door process with respect to processing a successful K-1 visa on average. There's outliers on both sides. Every case is unique. It's like a snowflake. But that being said, that's kind of a general overview with respect to timeline. The thing to keep in mind, just sort of in sum, is it's a 3-part process. It effectively begins in the U.S., goes through various offices in the U.S., finally to wind up at the U.S. consulate, generally speaking, at the U.S. consulate in Ho Chi Minh City, where the matter will be adjudicated by a consular officer at the immigrant visa unit. Again, K-1s are interesting because they're a non-immigrant visa that has dual intent. You're actually a non-immigrant visa, but for all intents and purposes, the consular section treats it as if it were an immigrant visa. And you go ahead and undertake the interview, and hopefully, presuming a successful interview, the visa will be issued shortly after the interview date.